Hello, Kuma 333. How are you doing? Thank you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Just looking at some things here. Setting up a few things before we get started. Hello, Mr. T2. How are you? I'm okay. How are you yourself? What are we doing today? We are going to be doing. I was just on Pinterest. So I looked at some images. I want to do something simple today. Hello, Burning Bright. How are you doing? How is everyone? Today I want to do something simple, not too complicated. Check out Ron. How are you? Hola. How are you doing? Today I want to go with a simple style, something simple like this. And I'm trying to see what we can do here. This looks good. But I want something like an industrial kind of thing or something like this. Maybe add in a character somewhere. Hello, how are you doing, everyone? Hello, Delta. How are you? Hello, how to make realistic render like this guy in Instagram. A photoreal render. Let me see. Let me check him out. Instagram. Photoreal render. Oh. Okay, this here. This is some nice renders here. Let me see. Dude, how are you doing renders with that with a GTX 1060? Yeah, so I guess I just try to pick the right projects, things that I can actually render on my computer. So I just stay away from things that I can't render. You know what? I like this piece here. This was a suggestion by Delta Ben. And I think I like this piece here. So maybe we can give this a try and see. Maybe we can make this a rod and I can have some kind of a vegetation. I'm on a GTX 1660 Super and I am so bad. Maybe you're trying to render hard renders. Maybe your renders are too complicated, are too heavy. Try something light and see. Finally, a lesson about look, dev, and rendering. The last render post, so rare. You mean his? Guys, this looks great. I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if it's the right project to do on stream, because I try to stay away from anything with vegetation in it, because that then requires a lot of computation power. I usually render with Eevee most of the time. Kuma 33. You saying this Coca-Cola render? Yeah, this looks really good. Yeah, the render engine you're using also helps a lot. You can't really achieve this look using Eevee. So you need to be using cycles, and I think he's also using NHDRI lighting to get this. His lighting is very good here. These are very, look at this. And so what render engine does he use? Because kind of looks super nice. Nice. The magic of lighting. Yeah, Hello, Aero CG. How are you doing? Check Max Max. Yeah, I think I follow this guy. I think. Yeah, this guy does some amazing work. Really, really amazing. Just look at these pieces. His compositions are just amazing. I follow him. He does really amazing stuff. Yeah, I think the other guy I think uses cycles, and Max Myett I think also uses cycles for this. Yes, amazing, amazing, amazing pieces. Let me see. Does anyone know how to achieve this distorted camera effect? Actually, let me see. Let me try and see, because I think this is something you do in compositing. So let me just, because what I want to do is see if I can achieve this. Because you see, the render is the camera is a bit distorted, or the render is a bit distorted. So I think this is done using the compositing, because I'm sure he uses Blender for this. This lighting rate, maybe we can try to figure out how he did some of the things here. I know he uses cycles for this, but maybe we can achieve the same effect using Eevee, because then I think this would be done using motion blur, or you can just even render just simple meshes to get the same effect. Nice, nice. Light trail. You use emission pass. Yeah. So for this is the light trails. I think they're much easier. What I want is to get the lens distortion to get that fish eye look, and I don't know if. Let me just first give it a simple try here. If I have a few planes, maybe let me give it some randomness. Let me see what we can. I just want to see if I can get that effect. Let me go back to my layout. Hey Shashwat, how are you doing? Let me see. I want to see if I can get that distortion. Let me just put in a few colors in here, just so we can easily see. A 7mm lens. Yeah, that is just going to stretch the perspective, but it's not going to give you the lens that fish eye look. It will stretch the lens, but it won't give you the fish eye look, and the fish eye is what I'm looking for mostly. Maybe let me add in some lights. So today we are going to be mostly experimenting, just to see. Maybe just make this look a bit more interesting here, before we can do some compositing. Okay. And maybe the background we can add a simple sky. You know what? Let me just use a plane. There's no need to make things complicated. Addon? You think he uses an addon? No, I don't think so. So if you guys are just getting here, what we're trying to do is, let me actually just let me see if I can get this image. Just go into inspect and see if I can grab this image. It's in here. Somewhere in here. Okay, so it's here. Yeah. Yeah, so if you look at this, let me see if I can get I see that these buildings are kind of distorted, you have this fish eye. There is some forced perspective, so he's using a very small focal length. So you see this perspective, but this here, the distortion is what I want to go for mostly. And I want to see if it's doable in Blender, inside Blender, without going to Photoshop, because I know if you're using Photoshop, you can just use the warp tool to do that. Hello, Hash Pickner, Panica, sorry, EroidCG. I like almost all of your videos. Thank you. So which ones don't you like? Fine, thank you. Okay, so let's give this a quick render. We reduce the music a bit. So this is what we have. Now, if I go to the compositing, maybe this is also would be a good video for compositing as well. I can use an output viewer node, and I just view this for a second. So I think, how are you, sir? I'm great. How are you doing? You can try lens distortion in compositing. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Is it under filter? I think under distortion. Where is that? Lens distortion. So we get the image, and so let me look at the image again, what it has. So these lines are going inwards. So this would be, is it concave? It's getting this concave shape. Distort by 150. Okay. Yeah, I think dispersion, and I think we can add in some dispersion. You see, I also usually see this effect in his renders sometimes. So if you're trying to get some lens dispersion, that's an easy way to do it. So this is a convex shape. Yeah, I think it's a convex shape. Yeah, forgetting my physics. Let's see. If we're doing projection, I don't remember what projection does. Detail. Okay, so if you fit, then it will also help you crop. So let's try 150. 100. So we don't really want it to fit, and we don't want a lot of distortion, so something like 50. 10. Doesn't seem like it's distorting anymore. Let me try 0.1. So that's just a little bit of distortion. Try negative value. Negative 10. Then that just squeezes it in the middle. I think a positive value is good, but we get this rounded edge. So I think we can add in a distort scale, and we can scale this by 2 or 1.1 until the corners here are no longer cut off. So maybe we can also reduce the distortion to something like 0.5, so we don't have a lot of distortion, as you see there. 1.05. Just wondering, is there a reason for your stream to be in 720, not 1080? Actually, there isn't a good reason. I think because my internet can definitely handle it. So yeah, and the upload speed just increases when I increase the bandwidth. So I think because I can't really change the setting right now, I will be doing that in the next stream. So sorry about the 70p. I don't remember why I changed it, but yeah, it shouldn't be 70. It can be 1080. I can handle that. I try a distortion of 0.3. Can you make a short movie video? A short movie video about, it depends how much content, what the story is. If it has to have a lot of things, then it would be very, very difficult for me to do. I've done a few of those, and yeah. what is this? So we're just experimenting and trying to see some of the effects. I'm forgetting his name. Where is his Instagram? Max Hyatt. This is a very popular 3D artist, a Blender artist, to be more specific. He does a lot of cool renders. Now we're just going through them and just trying to experiment and see how you can achieve the same effects that he uses to do here. And what we are doing here is trying to get this kind of convex lens distortion he has in his renders, and I think we managed to do that using compositing, and you can see we are getting that distortion as well. So we're getting those bends as like he's getting here. Instagram ID for I don't really use Instagram a lot, so but if you want to check out this Max Hyatt Instagram, just that's the post we are looking at right now, so you can just get the link. No more, just for tutorial purpose, which cover all the basics. No more, all the basics. There are a lot of basics that you can't really cover them in one video. Hello, Raunak. Akuma, glad to see you back. Your Instagram ID? Yeah, I really don't have anything posted there. I don't really have anything there. I would have to first clean it up because I think I have some things that I'm not sure I should have posted. So I will just get rid of it and then maybe make it public. So let's try to make this scene, because I don't think there is that much going on here, so we can try to make it ourselves. So let's see, quick attempt. Let me first clear these this. Okay, so it's going to get rid of this, and a great thing, because I have my asset library, I can just go to my building parts. I have a few buildings ready made for me that I can use here. So I'm just going to go to buildings. It should be under, okay, I think it's in my city park buildings. Yeah, so since I already have some buildings, I can just start from there, so that we are not starting from scratch, which is amazing. By the way, if you want to get the add-ons I'm using, you can just go to the page I'm about to link in the chat, and you can check out the add-ons I'm using. It's about short video. Hello Adiyat. Jenna, how are you doing? Yeah, so let's start with a building, and I'm also going to add a plane here for the ground, like this. Maybe make this, let me bring in some light. I'll give this, I think, an area light in the back. So light, area light, this has to be an area light. Let me give it a power of 1000, put it at the back. How to think creative? I have no idea. I just look at other people's work and get inspiration from that, and yeah, you do it often enough, and your ideas will start to come your way without even looking at other people's work. That's the only advice I can have for you. So we want some buildings. Let me make this a very tall building, and I can use some volumetrics. Just use it here. Material volume, shader volume, principal volume. Let me make sure that my scene is not too large, which will reduce the quality of the volume, which is okay. This is okay. Can you put other plugins so we so you want the shortcuts? Okay, they're there. Make a tutorial on compositing video. It really helps. I think this is going to be there's going to be a fair amount of compositing in this one. So this I think would be a nice one for compositing. So yeah, I want this to be a very heavy light like this, and let me give this a kind of so let me go to the asset library, materials, walls. Let me go to my city park. Let me use this material for the surface, something like this. I want the back there to be as bright as what we are seeing here. So what we can do is use the emission strength to kind of get in some nice fog volume like that. But maybe we can use a different volume object for this part. Let me first get that, skip that, and try to add in, let me see, go to the volume settings, turn on screen space reflections, volumetric shadows, and turn my into something like a 30 to get better volumes. Let me add in more buildings so that we get better look. Buildings. I'm going for dinner. Bye. No problem, man. So what are you having for dinner? Maybe you can spare something for us, some leftovers for us, because I'm starving myself. Just get something here, duplicate this. If you want to get higher volumes, you can even change the volume amount here, and that should give you a more so I think you can have something like that. Can also have this stack building. The training stack building, Iron Man's building. So let me also just add in that somewhere in the background. I use panoramic camera in lens in camera settings for the fish eye. Lens in cycles. It works inside. It works. To give you that effect. Okay, I'll try it out when it gets to time to that. Let me change my dimensions here, my aspect ratio. Let's try 1920 by 1080 for the flip this around. Eat after you finish, believe me, you will be happy. Oh, okay. I will do that. Okay, this I need it to be as wireframe. Make sure I'm saving this. Okay, make sure I'm saving it somewhere safe, and on my desktop. Resource models. Sort by name, models 2021. Sort by name. September, call this building. Okay, so this is where we are. We can add in more buildings. Make like a sci-fi scene, a cyberpunk scene. I think we're going to go with this. Okay, Astro Fabric, you're saying 1080 by 350 is the best. Okay, let's go with that. Now maybe let's also start adding in these streaks. I think I can use a curve object. It will be much easier to control, so I'm just going to turn this to automatic. Just scale this on the X. Vector. So these are going to be, we're just attempting to make some light streaks. So let's go add a new material. I'm going to make this emissive. So shader, emission, shader. Now because I'm using a curve, I need to give it some depth to be visible. And also, let me turn on bloom. Can you tomorrow make an epic render without plugins? Well, it would take me quite a while because, for example, if I was making this without the asset library, then that means I would have to model all of these from scratch, which is going to, one building like this can take a few minutes to make. So if you're going to need more than one, it can take a lot of time. I don't curve the emitter because it's already distorted in the compositor. Oh, I see. Okay, so because we're going to let me get rid of the distortion. So yeah, I get what you mean because it's just a bit harder to preview without curving it. Let me first increase. Okay, so you mean like this? Kema 333, were you asking a question? Because I'm saying you're adding a question mark. Did I miss a question? Okay, so now if I do a quick render, let's see if we do a quick render here. Did we remove the distortion? Let me go back to my compositing. You know what? I actually like how this is turning out, especially with the lens dispersion. So let's okay, let's first look at this without the, this is with the lens distortion, and I think we would need I need to have a separate viewport for the final render. I'm not sure where I should put this. Let me split this here on the bottom. Just make this the image editor so that we have the render results there. Or let's have the compositor here. I want this to be used as the backgroup. So this is how it's coming out, and I think it looks actually far better than I expected. I think your audio level is low today. You think so? Okay, so I think it was, yeah. How about now? Yeah, the mic was a bit down. Thanks, dude. I learned a lot from you, and you're welcome, Vaishan. Vaishnav. Sorry for butchering your name, but yeah. So this is our composition. we need to scale this up a little bit until we lose the distortion. So let's scale this up by 1.3. Yeah, so something like that. But now I have to push the camera a little bit back so that we get a lot inside this view. So I'm going to go to my camera and I can shift. Actually, it's under camera. I can change the lens size. Yeah. Give this another render, which should be F12. Use panoramic. I use panoramic. Okay, let me see panoramic. I've never tried it out, but does it work in cycles? Okay, let me see. Render. It doesn't seem to have an effect on the render at all. Is there a specific setting I should use, or it only works in cycles? Yeah, so unfortunately I can't work in cycles. It would be too heavy for my computer, so I have to work inside EV. So I'm just going to switch back to the perspective and just use the compositor to achieve the effects. Yeah, we need more buildings. Maybe in the background. I can also maybe make this. Yeah, let's first get some more extra buildings here. Since this is going to be a building close-up, I'm going to make it a little bit more detailed. Just adding in this second level here. Something like that. Get another one. Can use, I think this one. Can have this somewhere here. Is this a 3.0? No, this is 2.93. Let me just rotate this. And I can give this a lower flow, like rotate 180. Something like this. So we need these distortion lines, and I think if I have my camera a bit lower, like what it has, we can get that distortion. Maybe change this to a 15. Have more tall buildings in the background. I can also reuse this Tony Stark building back here. Now maybe even use some bit of emission just for a little bit of depth. Okay, it doesn't seem to work very well for this scene. Yeah, so that in the right corner, is this the asset library add-on? Yeah, I'm using the asset library to just to help me import my assets. When you started Blender, did you struggle with settings? Yeah, I think everyone does struggle with the settings quite a lot. Especially the version of Blender I started with, the user interface was really not the best. So yeah, definitely did struggle with these settings. I'm just going to make a copy of this. Think I need this to be a little bit tall. Maybe also make the light larger. Let's try making this something like 2000. What's your favorite render? I can't really tell. I'm not like my own render or a render of someone I've seen? Because yeah, so we're still trying to get these lines. So I'm going to make this one reddish like that. Let's give this a quick render. Let's go back to the compositing. Mine, I make a lot of renders. Most of them I don't even remember. Please make a tutorial like this. Well, I thought this was a tutorial. This is a story itself. So we are getting the distortion, but his distortions are quite heavy here. Oh, I think because of the scale here, that's why. Because I can see that we need a lot of distortion for this for us to start getting any kind of bend. So let's try 150, 200. So I think beyond a certain value, you don't see any distortion at all for some reason. Projection. Okay, so let's try 100. What was the most time-taking render? I usually limit myself on. So what I've done is just double the distortion by using another lens distortion to get more distortion. But that means that we have to zoom out or push out the camera quite a lot so that we can see more of the scene. So I usually limit myself to about 2 to 3 hours of rendering. So any scene that I would take longer than that render, I usually stay away from. So so I don't really have a render that takes that long to render. And yet, do you use Cinema 4D? I've tried it, but yeah, it's quite a powerful tool. I just like free things, I guess. And I enjoy Blender more, actually. That's the reason why I use it more. No other reason. So this is without the scale. This is with the scale. This is without the scale. This is just the distortion. So I'm trying to look at what. So he must have also. I see. So you see, these buildings here are very close and are very tall. That's why you see that his distortions are going like that. So his shape must have been something an oval like that, and he cropped it off somewhere in the middle. So we're going to have to do the same. And I think we're also going to need. This is a lens distortion, comes from the actual camera. Okay, let's see if I use cycles and use a panorama. Let me first get this and use a panorama. Let me go to camera and use a panorama. I see what you mean. Because I see we're also getting the same distortion like he's doing. So let's go to I want to turn on denoising here. Sampling, denoising. And so you can see that we're also getting the same distortion as he's getting. So if I scale this up, if I go to this camera, change the field of view to something like 300. I see what you mean. So the distortion is directly from the camera, and that's why you see. And so you just increase this more and more. If you try to do it within the compositor, you don't really get the same, the kind of the same distortion that he's getting here. I think camera Z position need to be a little bit low. Z position? Oh, you mean it should be lower on the surface like this? Yeah, I see. So if we had a few extra buildings closer to the camera, that we are really tall, says, if I grabbed this here, just duplicate it closer to the camera like this, you see we also get the same, but I think I have a better building that has those kind of lines. I think I can get something like this, rotate. Play with the lens. The camera lens. So let's see, 25. That zooms in. I think yeah, so Cycles gives you the better distortion, but the problem is I don't get real-time feedback as like working in Eevee. So I like that constant feedback. Eevee is much faster to work in. That's why you see that I want to use it more. So let me go back to the compositing. Let's try to do this within the compositor and see. Our distortions are not going to be the best, obviously, but if I look at this 100, let me just grab this. How did you make every building a different color? If you're asking how I made these a different color, you just have to go to your overlays and turn on random. So usually it's like that. You just turn on random, and then every building will get a different color like so. I think I can duplicate this on. Let's see. I want to add in more details. If I go to my collection, I still have a few extra buildings here. I can grab this one here because I think we're lacking some detail around here. So I'm just going to grab this building here. Just have it there. You can get the same result in Eevee for sure. Just zoom in and use a lower focal length. Okay, let's try that. So if I use something like 7 and let me also make sure that I want my volume to be calculated everywhere. So let me go under volume settings, change this maybe something like Just wondering why. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. To have light everywhere. Now let's give this a quick render and see. So this is what we have. Now if you go to the compositing, this is what we get. If I use fit, let me distort this further. So we're certainly getting some distortion here. Let me pull the camera a little bit back and see. Oh, maybe closer. This is should be under the compositing. This is what we get. Have you tried Octane Prime for Blender? No, I haven't. I have not. Usually what stops me is that those renders you have to also learn. It's like learning a new program because you have to convert your materials to Octane materials. And yeah, I'm fine with Eevee and Cycles for now. Let's make, I think we need more buildings. So I'm just going to duplicate. Let me see if I have more interesting buildings here. I have this. Add that in. Maybe you can even add some of those in the back there. I think, let me try adding a light that kind of bounces from, that points up to illuminate some of these buildings. If I switch off this, so that we're just looking at this. Rotate Y 180 so that is facing up. I want to be able to see some of the other buildings we have, some of the details we have on the other buildings. So I should turn this to 1. Look at the picture. The lighting is different from the bottom. Maybe yellow is gradient, is more radiant than the beginning of the lines. Look at the picture. The lighting is different from the bottom. Also here. So this here, these reflections, I think are from the emission of these light. These lights are emitting these reflections. That's why you see the same red here and here. So we can't really have this in Eevee because Eevee doesn't support mesh lighting. But I think we can fake it somehow. Just want to first see if I can get some of something like Octane materials are not hard to learn. Are they like cycles? Maybe if that's the case, maybe I can give it a try sometime. get this stack building. I think I can push this a little bit in the back. Octane is free and so easy to learn. You can achieve more quality than cycles. Try it and give us a feedback if you can. I'll definitely try it and see. Let's see if I have a light here and then another one. Okay, let's create. Yeah, you know what? Since if it doesn't really give us good distortion, I'm just going to fake the distortion using the curve themselves. I think they have to be a little bit thinner than this. I can duplicate these a few times. And I'm going to also duplicate this on the opposite side. And these ones are going to be reddish and maybe a bit thicker. So these are going to have a reddish material. I think you can distort. You can do the distortion in Photoshop. Yeah, so the distortion in Photoshop, we would get the same distortion we are getting in Eevee. We would get the same distortion in Eevee, which, because I think Photoshop uses wrapping. You would do, is it a lens wrapping? Which is, I think, the same as the lens distortion we have here. So I was wondering why the scene looks a bit blurry. It's because I have depth of field on. So let's re-render this. And if we're doing compositing, we can also just go into the data, turn on mist, turn on the emission pass, and see what we can do with that. Maybe also make the reflections a little bit reflective, the flow to be a little bit more reflective. Maybe also have that, if I go to the light, I can render the ambient occlusion and bloom effects. What else can we add? I think that would be enough. Search for Octane for Blender. What is that? Is that an add-on or something? Okay, so this is the add-on for Blender. Yeah, I'll try it out and see. Try to stretch the plane and give it an emission. Also for this place here, try. I've made. Why should I stretch it for the emission? I mean for this surface here. I think these lines are also too separated, so let's fix that a little bit. I think I need this to be a little, to have some color in it. Let me try a 15mm. Pull this back a bit. Hello, Maja. Nordin, how are you doing? Okay. I like how this building is coming up, and now we are getting some nice reflection there. This surface here is also giving us some nice reflection. I'm going to go to this surface and remove any normal map as we, and the surface here also doesn't look too detailed, so I'm going to just give it a little bit more, make it a little bit more detailed. Right, mixing it with a different grunge map, or adding some extra detail. Let's see, what can I add? Maybe mix it with this here. Just want to have some good high frequency detail blended into this. So let me find something else. I think that would give us some nice details. Okay, let's give this a quick render and do some compositing. So this is what we have. Now we can go to the compositing, and this is without the distortion. This is with the distortion. Let me see if I add scale, distort, scale before, and I scale this down before the distortion. I think that's much better. So we can even do more distortion here. So something like 5. Let's say. Okay, so it doesn't seem to want to add more, but I think we can do something like this, which is going to distort this further. But we can also bring this scale back here and scale this down even further. So if I want to, let me see if can I distort this even further? Doesn't seem so. But I can distort this. Let me see if I use 0. Distort this even further. But again, scale, bring the scale back again. So let's compare. I can use a split viewer. So if I go to what is it? Output, split viewer. I can view this here, and I think this here. I want to see the difference. So you can see this is scaled down. So I can do a comparison here. Okay. Or with the original. and you can see we are getting the distortion and everything. Just need to, maybe we don't need the last distortion, and so that means don't need, actually we might need this scale to get rid of those borders. Okay, so this is before, and this is after with our distortion. So we can get rid of the border, the dark border, by adding another scale. So I can scale this by 1 point something like 1, and I will get that, but I will get this kind of vignetting effect, which is okay. So let me first have this only. I think I want to separate the glow effects so that we make them glow even further. So I think we can get the street is dark. The street is dark. Yeah, I think we can add in a bit more detail. I think his street is also dark here. And another thing I'm noticing about his building is that some of them are really bent in like this. I think it adds more detail, more effect to the scene, but I can get to that a little bit later. I think let me also remove some of this distortion, dispersion in some places, in some areas. So I want to separate the, so we have a mist pass, but we also, this is the ambient occlusion, we also have an emission pass, which is what I want. So if I use a filter blue, I think it's under glare, I can mix this with this here. Turn on, I think, add. This would be on something like that. So those are our streaks, but we can play with the streaks. So we can use fog glow to get a glowy effect. Let me just use, let's try, there is star. Now fog glow is the glow. Have streaks, we have costs, but I think fog glow is what we want. If you want to make this even more pronounced, you can just duplicate this, and that will give it, make it more powerful. Now if we add it on top of everything, we get this. So I think the other thing we can do, so if you look closely, we have a few duplicates of this, and the reason for that is we are distorting the image separately from the glow. So what we have to do is instead of having this, of mixing this glow at this position, we just need to first add the glow effect before we start distorting this. So that means I need this to be mixed with the original image before it's distorted. So Yeah, something like that. Maybe I can reduce on the effect here just a little bit. The Dizzy Viper made this Instagram, this inspired by this art. Check on Instagram. Dizzy Viper. Let me check Instagram. Oh, I see. So this here. Nice. I think it's the same thing, yeah? Oh. Okay, I see. I think there is a better way to do these line streaks instead of using these curves, because I think they look too thick. So what I'm going to do is try a different way of creating these lines instead of using a curve. So I'm just going to get rid of this. And what I'm going to do is add a plane like this. Scale it on the x-axis like this, or on the y-axis. It's adding subdivisions, adding a few subdivisions like this. And then I'm going to get a curve. I'm going to get a curve and use this to deform them. So I can just get this plane like that, give it a curve object or a curve deformer, and now I have this plane that is basically sliding off like that, and I can UV unwrap this. Let me change this to UV editor. I'll just have this go from left to right like that. Maybe, yeah, something like that. Let's go back to the image. Yeah, so I can even scale this up. Now, what I can do here, because I want to get the same effects here, I can get a shader, emission shader, and a shader, transparent shader, blend the two. Now, because we're using Eevee, I would need to set this to alpha blend and also set the shadow to none. And I can blend between transparency and non-transparency. But for the factor, I can use something like I can use a noise texture. Noise. And you're already starting to see the streaks, but I want this to be using UV coordinates. So let me first isolate this for a second. You barely see the noise right now. So what I can do is use a convert color ramp. God. Let's try this again. What I want to do is use a convert color ramp. Okay. Convert color ramp. Yeah. We have run into an issue. So Blender doesn't want to behave. Okay, so it seems that the color ramp is heavy for this. Let me see if okay, yeah, so it's working now. See what we're getting? I want this to use the UV map, and I want to scale this on the x-axis. I want to scale the streaks. First, let me scale them down. like that, then distort them, scale them on the x-axis. Want them to be, yeah, to look like streaks, something like that. And I can turn off show back face. Actually, we want to see show back face. I can even use alpha hashed, which usually gives you better results. No, alpha blend gives you better results, but kind of sometimes acts weird. Anyway, so I want to use this as the line streaks there. So this is going to be our mix factor. Now we can play with the alpha channel to get the streaks. I think I can go to edit mode, scale this on the y-axis, and this is what we would get. So you can see the streaks we have, and I can add in more detail if we want to make this more rough to get variations, and we can distort this. So we have those nice blur lines, and if we want to color them, we can do this in different ways. I can just duplicate this and create a color gradient. Maybe you can even add in some blue streaks. I don't know. And this would be our emission color. And then the emission value we can up like that. Now we have our streaks. Can make them wider. We add Shift E. I think these are actually much better than the streaks we had before. So yeah, give us nice streaks. And if you want less like that, all we have to do is go back to the color ramp, which I'm sure it's going to crash again. Let's see. If you want them far apart, you just have to play with the contrast here. That will make them thinner and also far apart like that. And we can also duplicate this for the left side. So I'm just going to mirror this on the X. Maybe scale this. Just make this a different material and change the colors. To whatever you want. I don't know, something like that. Maybe these are a bit, maybe they're not as many. Something like that. Maybe scale this. This looks better now. Yeah, thank you. And I'm also going to do the same trick he does here. Just getting a building like this. Just drop it, maybe scale it up. Let me use active. Some of his buildings are kind of bent. Let me use Individual origins. No. I'm going to add in a light somewhere here, just to get some lighting for some of these buildings, because yeah, the streets look a bit dark, and I don't want this to appear and be diffused too much, and I also don't want it in the volume. Maybe let me use this as an area light. So I want some light on these buildings, some of these buildings. So something like that. I think this surface lacks resolution in some areas. So you can see we're lacking a lot of resolution here. Can we use curves for building to get a distortion? Yes, you can definitely get use curves for the distortion. At Hanan, thank you for subscribing. If you're new here and you want to subscribe, it would be amazing if you did. Yes, you can use the curve. Curves are to distort the buildings a little bit. And maybe, for me, I'm just going to rotate them just a tiny bit in, like what he was doing in some areas. Think just checking on this material and see something like that. And I'm also going to fake the distortion upwards, so I can get that same so maybe the thing we are lacking here is a character in the middle. So I'm just going to use my cloth library add-on. I'm working on a new version here, so this is still in this beta phase, but I have a function one, so I'm going to use my cloth library add-on. This is version 3 that I'm still working on. I'm testing it right now. So let's see. I'm just going to use a male character here. Let me get, yeah, let me show dummy. Get this guy here. and try to dress him up. So the cloth library add-on just helps with clothes. Exactly that. Nothing fancy. Let me import these trousers. Just simulate. Yeah, and if you want to get any of the add-ons I'm using, you can just go to the link there. Maybe you can use them for your project. Yeah, so I think I like this one here. I like this. I'm just going to apply the simulation, the pose. So I can pose the character if I want. How can you put a logo in a t-shirt? You just use textures. Maybe let me show you how to do that. Let me get a t-shirt here. Let me get which t-shirt should I get? Let me get this. So imagine this is our shirt, and let me also first pose this, add it to the pose. So now I can easily. So this add-on just helps you with kind of easily dress up your characters without doing too much work. Maybe apply that. Let's say we want to add a logo at the back here. I don't know, a design. And let me just turn this entire stream into a promotion for my add-on. So I'm just going to use my quick Deco Designer add-on to design a simple logo that I can put in the back. Maybe I can use, let me go to the design. Let's design what? I'll start with the text and say, let's say something like yay. And I don't know, what kind of logo should we do? Maybe use this shape, or let's just create a shape from scratch. So let's imagine the logo to be something like I don't know, I'm just coming up with something. I'm going to go to my curves, use what is it called? This has to be 2D, a fill mode, set to both front and back, both are like that. So let's say this is our logo. Yay. Like that. Maybe give this quick material. I can't see anything because I have bloom turned on, so I'm going to just remove it. Use white and yellow, and then I think I can, let me just convert this into a mesh so that it's easy to remove these faces here. Yeah, so imagine this is our logo. Again, I'm using the Quick Deco Designer, which is also an add-on you can get from my webpage. So this was designed by me, so buying it will also support the channel if you want to do that. So I'm just going to save this logo, render, just get the camera and reposition. Position it. So also show transparencies. So imagine this is your logo. You can design it obviously in Photoshop or something, but I just always want to keep everything in Blender. That's why you see that I designed this add-on so that I can easily do the things inside Blender. I'm going to save this on my desktop. Call this logo. I can save it. I don't need these anymore, so I can just go back and set up my camera again. Which was somewhere here. Now we didn't have transparency. Yeah, something like that. And I've already made my character. This guy here, where is he? Yes, this character. And I want him to have the t-shirt. So all you have to do, if you have the material set up, if you're using this add-on, you can easily import. I just have to navigate to where I saved that image. So I'll just go to create or link library. I'll go to my desktop, and then you can see where the logo is, link, and I should be able to link the library. Let me see, quick materials, use link, desktop, link. You can see now, just have to come in here and look for the logo we have designed, and I can import it as a texture like so, and you see it's already on. But you can do the same step by just going into texture, image texture, and load it, and load the logo or whatever logo you have in like that. Then you just need to make sure that the object you're adding the logo to has been UV unwrapped. Hey, thank you for subscribing. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but thank you, really appreciate it. So if you have this UV unwrapped, you can then use your logo like so. So I'm just scaling it down, just going to mix this with a mix RGB. This is going to be color 1. The alpha channel is going to be our factor, and I want this to use the same color that was there, something like that. And now we have the logo on the shirt. It looks repeated, so I can just turn on repeated, turn off repeated, and I should be able to see the logo. I just need to make sure that my where I want the logo to be. So for example, if I want this this to be on this area, just this area, this area matches up with my logo. So I'm just going to go to UV, select my image. You can see it's not really matching it very nicely. So just set this up. You can even just set up a new UV map, and UVs. Select the part where you want the logo to be, and unwrap only that part. You can scale up that like so. Then in your texture, you can use that UV map you have just created. So it's and select everything else. I'm just going to scale them down so that they're not touching. You can see what we have. So obviously this is mirrored, so I'm just going to unmirror it. Yeah, we have our logo on our t-shirt. So since this is already paused, can turn off go to the turn off mirror so that I can reposition everything here. Let me bring this guy into our scene. Reposition here. Hey, thank you for subscribing. Peter Mango, thank you. Yeah, so I think the explanation was a bit confusing. I have a lot of tutorials on how to texture in Blender, so you can search that up on my YouTube channel, and I should be able to get some good tutorials on that. Anyway, let's get back to this. So this is where we're at. First erase these. I can see. Let's get this guy somewhere. Make sure he's touching the floor. Maybe give him the same pose. Hector 3D, how are you doing? How is everything? Yes, you can ask. Everything is fine. Great to know. Good to know. Why is this not copy? Okay, is designing futuristic cloth possible in Blender? Blender is not the best application for designing cloth, so you might want to try something like Motherless Designer. I think it is going to be the best option for you. Why is this not fitting correctly? Somehow I've messed up the character a bit, but that's okay. I think it needs to be a little bit off center. Compositing looks good. Thank you. Yeah, so maybe let me also rotate him just a little bit like this. I need to have some contact shadows. I think that's what we are lacking. So let me get these shadows, contact shadows. And I also want to get some light on him. So I'm just going to duplicate this light. Can I see the compositing nodes? The compositing nodes, let me first give this a render. Compositing, this is what we have. we try to add in some distortion and also get some camera distortion. If you're new here, let me just explain the nodes a little bit for you. So you can see we're trying to get some less distortion. As you can see, some of the building are tilted like this, following the distortion. And what we're doing is just getting the image and scaling it up a tiny bit, scaling it down, because when you add less distortion, it scales it upwards. So that's why you see we scale it down first and then add less distortion, which will just add in that kind of a bit of curving to the buildings. And to make the effect more pronounced, we redid the same thing again. We did the same thing again, added more distortion, so this so that those curves are more pronounced, and then scaled this back again, and that's where we at. So you can see how things are. Yeah, and we also added in some lens dispersion to get those kind of lens dispersion. Yeah, exactly what it is. Yeah, I want to have a rim light on him, so that's why I say I added this light. Maybe somewhere there, so that he feels like he's within the scene. And because we have some light coming off this side, I'm going to use that. Let's see. I'm going to use the same red light this side, and let's see, 100. Let's try 50, then duplicate this for the other side and change it to the blue to reflect this side. I'm not sure why it doesn't have contact shadows. I mean, let me bring some ambient occlusion. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a good artist, but ground looks flat concrete. I think you should use asphalt texture with displacement. Yeah, I think we can do that because I see he also has the same thing. So maybe we can do that. Let's first set up the lighting a little bit. I'm just wondering why it doesn't have contact shadows here. That's let me go to what is this? Yeah, I'm not sure. Now this light, maybe you can make it less pronounced by changing the custom distance. Same with this. Hello, Grapher, how are you doing? Let's try making this even more powerful and see. It's 50. We can make the ground more detailed because right now you see it's too pixelated. I think one of the things we can do is go look at this texture which I think is this. Scale it down quite a lot so that I will reduce on the pixelation. So that's a little bit better. Then maybe add in some bump map. Something like that makes it look much better. And in my asset library, I have a few elements that we can add in to make this. Actually, I think I want to add in this antenna. And I think I can add it on top of this roof. It will give us some nice details, so I will add it there. Just a small detail we can add in. Maybe this dustbin can be somewhere there. I don't know. Love your tutorials and renders. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me add this other building somewhere there. Just want to add in extra detail in different areas like that. I think you use screen space reflections on the surface. I think I have that on, but for some reason I'm not getting the reflections. So let's try to use, I think, what is it called? A reflection map, a reflection plane around here, and see if that is going to help. I get confused on how this works sometimes, because sometimes it gives you the results you're expecting, sometimes it doesn't. For example, now I'm trying to see if I can get some nice reflections of this. So distance. Looks like the reflections are there. Maybe my reflections are too rough. I don't know. So cycles would give us better reflections here, but you want render it. Yeah, I want to render this in Eevee. Let's see, what else can we add in? We can also add in some posters, other things like that. So let me see in my decos. I can add in a few things. Maybe street names. Let's see. I can use this just to add some surface detail to this road, because right now it looks a little bit bland. On the ground plane material settings, on screen space reflections, on the ground plane material settings, this is refractions, which doesn't really do anything for reflections, as you can see. Let's see, what else can we add in? can go to my decos and see if I have anything I can add in here that would work for building. Let me actually, I have an ArcViz architecture decos architecture ArcViz. I should have, let me first go to my library. I think I have an ArcViz architecture. I don't? City Park, ArcViz Furniture Park. ArcViz. Yeah, so, but there isn't much in here either. Anyway, so let's do some compositing and call it a day, as this has been already 1.5 hours into this. Let's do some compositing, test this out in cycles, and yeah, see how it looks. So first, let me give this a quick render. So we have something like this. This is what we have in the render. Now, if we go to the compositing, let me see if we have, if we can render out, if we can separate the shadows. Yeah, I think we have a shadow option here. And I also want the environment. And yeah, so let's re-render this and do some quick compositing. So if I look at my alpha, this is the alpha channel, depth. I can come back to the depths a little bit later. Also, this is our shadows. I can use a convert math node to amplify, to make the shadows a bit deeper. So something like, if I go, yeah, just simply amplify the shadows, and you can see now we have some contact shadows there. I can go back. Now I want to blend them with the image we already had. I'm going to get this mix node and use the original image. So we have something like this. I'm going to use multiply, and you can see that that gives us some nice contact shadows that we didn't have. So you see, this is before, this is after we get those nice contact shadows. Hey Jaysa, Raja, hey man, why when I place my cursor somewhere and import FBX or OBJ, did not spawn in cursor location? The OBJ imports at the, does it? I think it imports at the center of your world. It doesn't import it to this cursor location. Okay, so you can see that I was simply multiplying the shadows. I will get better contact shadows where he's standing. But the problem is, we are also, if I blend this, you can see we're also losing a lot of detail in other areas. So what I can do is create a mask. So if I get I can create a mask around him so that we mask out parts of the shadow. So we want the contact shadow to only be around the space so that we don't lose the detail in all the other places. And the way to do that, we can use a convert, we can use a distort lens distortion. And this time we can use the alpha. Oh God. You can use the alpha channel, which is just a white image. And but if we distort it by 1, we get this shape here. And now what we can do is use a distort scale to scale this down. And I'm going to use, so this is our, I'm going to use an image here. I'm going to use the original image as image 1 and then this as image 2, just to demonstrate what we are doing here. So okay, this I want to be mix. I want this to be multiply of screen. So I just want to show you how I want to position this so that it's only here. So I've scaled it down. Now what we can do is use translate. Actually, instead of using scale, we could have used the translate option, because it has actually we could have used a transform node, so distort a transform, because it has a scale, a rotation, and everything else. But let's just go with this transform and move this down quite a few points, negative 100, negative 500. Yeah, so somewhere like that. And the other thing we can do now is blur this using the filter blur node, because remember what we want to do is multiply the shadow. Not better to give ellipse mask node. Is there an ellipse mask node? Because I don't think I've seen that before. Or are you suggesting it should exist? Okay, so what I want to do is to mask the shadow area and limit it only here. So this would be what we have done here. This would just be the factor here. And you can already see that we are getting back all the detail that we had here. So before, it was like, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? So before it was like this. We got the shadow, but then we lost the detail up here. So we created a mask at mask just the shadow. And now we have something like that. Actually, we want this, not that. Matte ellipse matte. So it's under matte ellipse. Thank you. Actually, I've never seen this before. It's been a while since I've done any compositing, so I didn't know that existed. So I just used a lens distortion. So this is actually a lot of nodes and adding to computation. So let's just use what Grapher has suggested, which is a better way to do this. And all we need is a mask to mask off to be the factor. So we just have to position this where we want it. Adjust the height. And okay, it doesn't have a way to blur. Nice, everyone learning. Yeah, even me myself learning from you guys, which is amazing. So I want to blur this a bit. So I'm just going to use a convert. Actually, let's preview the results here. So this would be our shadow. Actually, this is supposed to be this. It should go there, so that you can see that the effect of our shadow. But the mask is too sharp, so I'm going to use a convert. Filter blur, a blur node. We can use Gaussian blur and start blurring this a bit. So you can already see, let's try 10. 10 is not good enough. Maybe we can just adjust the width. The width is like that. Maybe bring this a little bit below. Adjust the height. Adjust the height, and then something like this. Blur this even further, and then you can use the value here to adjust the opacity of the contact shadows. And maybe make this even, blur this even further, something like by 200. We get our contact shadows and retain other details. That's why I love a 3D community. Everyone are ready to help out each other. Yeah, there's a lot to learn, and there's always someone who has some knowledge of how to, a different way of doing things than you, maybe even much more efficient way. Now I can use this as the image that we are going to add the glare effect to, the glow effect to, and then okay, I'm not sure why I'm adding this here. Yeah, okay, so it's going to be the final image that we add the distortion to, so I have to replace it here. And if I want to bring the contact shadow back, I can make it even more pronounced. So you can see our shadow. Can even go back to the add value here, adjust. Let me see. Yeah, adjust the shadow. This shadow like that. And you can see what we have. Now, another thing I think I can do is, let's go back to the layout here. I want these lines to be a little more organic. So what I can do is go back to the shader here for a bit. Look at this. So we have this here. This is our noise. I want to see if I think either it's Blender or my computer is not able to handle a lot of these computations. But what I want to do is to add in a little bit of distortion to these lines. So if I duplicate this entire setup for a second, now get these lines. Maybe look at them from this. Actually, let me grab the entire node setup from this. If we distort these lines, we don't really get the effect I think I would have got. Let's see if I use this, because I'm trying to add in some organic. Let's see. Can you make a game? Can you make my gaming character? Yeah, so I'm not really very good at character modeling, so unfortunately, Thomas McGonagall, brother, you are very amazing. We need tutorial on how to use nodes the way we want, because many people use nodes by following tutorials. We can't think of right nodes to use by our own imagination. Most of the time you just have to practice more, and then you get the hang of it, why you need this kind of node. So you have to just practice until you get the right setup. So I think what I want to do here is distort this a bit, but get this, trying to look at these nodes again, see if I can get some distortion out of these lines. Look at this. How to earn money from working on Blender? Well, there's a lot of ways to make money. You can sell models, you can become a freelance 3D artist. There's so many ways. Hello Leo2K13, how are you doing? I want to do a convert. Let me try to make my own normal map by combining a few values here. So if I get the vector separate x, is it separate or combine? I think it's combine. Convert, combine x, y, z. You get jobs that require Blender use. Yeah, exactly. So I want to see if I can get this, if I get a combine, a separate, if I get a separate, I'm just experimenting a bit here, so that's why you see I'm not really trying to explain what I'm doing. I'm just trying to experiment with a few ways. So if I get this, and I also get separate XRGB, something like this. And let me try using this. Not what I want. Hey, thank you Bohmain Live for subscribing, really appreciate it. I think I made a mistake here. What I can do is duplicate this noise and just yeah, I think this is what I wanted. So what I wanted to do is get the lines we had created and just make them a little bit stretched or a little bit distorted. Hey Ultron X, thank you for subscribing. Yeah, so we have some lines here that I wanted to be distorted. So we kind of get an organic look. And I want to combine this with this. Let me try using the add. Hey, thanks for subscribing. I'm sorry I missed that notification. Leo 2K, thanks you for subscribing. I want to use the add shader just to blend these two materials. This can be where are you from, brother? I'm from East Africa. That's in Uganda. Me. Okay, guys. We have some lines there. Now let's look at everything here. You get some distortions. I just wanted to make this a little bit different. Aditya Jenna, what's your PC specs? So I'm using this is my CPU, this is my memory, 8 GB, and this is my GPU. Nothing fancy, but it does the job. Just going to let me use the mix node. Just adding a little bit distortion like that. Well, I have an HD 5500 and a GT 210. Okay, so is that more powerful than what I have? Ah, God, Blender is crashing quite a lot. Okay, so let's give this a quick render. For our compositing. So this is what we have. Now let's look at what else we can add in here. So this is the alpha, this is the depth, which I can use the convert. There is a depth filter, I think. Or is it matte? Distance key. No. I think there's a Z depth input that I'm forgetting. Alpha convert, alpha mask, vector. I'm forgetting that. But we can use the convert math node to let's use a power that can give us a fog effect if we wanted one. But we also have a mist node, which is an inverted mask of this. So if we wanted to add that in, I have latest PC version, 2 GB and 32-bit Windows 7. You have a latest PC version of what? Latest PC. That's a bit confusing because there are a lot of latest PCs. Yeah, Windows 7 is not really the latest. They're almost releasing Windows 11, so yeah, you are far behind. So I want to, before we distort, we want to do everything before we distort the image, so that everything is distorted at the same point. So after the shadows, I want to add in some mist. And this should be, I think, added. So this is without the mist. This is, now I think we don't really need the mist effect because we already have the volume. Let's look at the ambient occlusion. We can multiply the ambient occlusion now we can multiply the ambient occlusion here. So I'm just going to get this. Let me first grab this and connect it to this. So we can bring in the ambient occlusion and multiply it over everything else. Now the problem we are having now is that our ambient occlusion has some dark areas. So if I go to the alpha or the environment, okay, which is not giving us anything, we have bloom. So it seems that the ambient occlusion is also multiplying this part. So what I can do is go to try to re-render this. What are you doing? We're trying to recreate something like this in Blender. So we can go, I want to render, if you go to the world, we can turn off mist pass, volume. We can turn on, we can go to the render settings and under film, turn on transparency so that we get rid of this, so that we have an alpha channel to cut out this black area. And I think we should also have an option to render out the volume. We should have a volume pass. Yeah, volume here, so you can use that. So I'm going to re-render this. And that should give us an alpha mask here. And I think we need to use a convert alpha straight. Let me see, is it alpha over? I'll set alpha. Let me see, what am I missing here? Alpha over convert. Matte. Let me just search for it, alpha. There is an alpha over option so that we can get the image and place it. What I want to do is I just want to mask out the ambient occlusion, because if you look at the ambient occlusion right now, it has this black area. So I want to use the alpha mask, convert. Let me first make it more pronounced, because I don't think this is going to give us the mask we are expecting. Yeah, this should give us the mask we need, and use it to, let me get the ambient occlusion This is going to be our mask here for the factor. And now, yeah, we have what we wanted. Except the ambient occlusion looks a bit too much. So I'm going to use a math node. A convert math node, or you can even use just a mix RGB. To reduce on the ambient occlusion if we don't want it. And oh, Sengiz, thank you for subscribing. Really appreciate it. Are you going to use the distortion effect? Yes, we have already used it. You can see it there. Maybe let me scale this a little bit further, so 1.2, so that we lose those corners. So we lose the sharpness of the image a bit. And the reason for that is because the image is being scaled up a few times. That's why you see it becomes a bit blurry. So if you want to have that sharpness, then you have to increase the resolution quite a bit. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 so that we are rendering at 20% at 200% for better results. And of course, because we have increased, okay, why can't I? Yeah, you can see now the resolution is a bit better. Looks a little bit better than what we had. And we're also getting better distortion. You can see. We can also add in some noise. Let me see if we have some noise here. Input, mask, RGB. Now, most of the other effects, so we can do that. We can add them using Photoshop. So I'm going to up the resolution of everything. Let me put this at 200 and give this a quick render. If you want to look to see the effects, the final results, I'll have them uploaded on the Discord server. Yeah, I'm going to end